Mr Hayes has asked for the floor.
Very briefly, President, I just want to thank the rapporteur and especially the court for the work in this important area. I just have two observations to make. In a previous life in the Department of Finance in Ireland, I had responsibility for cutting the cost of property portfolios right across the Irish system, so I have particular interest in this issue. But I was recently in Africa, in Eritrea, and I had an opportunity of seeing one of these EU delegations, and I have to say I was very impressed by the welcome they gave me and the facilities they gave me to do my work there as a member of the European Parliament, and also the fact that it becomes a focal point for other member states of the European Union. In the case of Eritrea, there was only 4 of the 28 member states there: Germany, Britain, Italy and France. And the work of the EU delegation is crucial in terms of working on common interests that we have in terms of the development budget and the like. So I wouldn't underestimate for a second the importance of the work, especially in poorer parts of the world, in having a good quality office accommodation for the external action teams that are there and for the delegations. Just some very brief remarks in this area. Firstly, you never cut costs when it comes to property unless it's a whole-of-government approach. In other words, this cannot be just for the External Action Service itself. It has to be a Commission priority, otherwise we won't see better use of resources. Secondly, you never make savings unless you have accurate information, and the fact that so many of the delegations have not, as has been referenced in the report, given the information is a major issue that needs to be taken up, as you have said yourself, President. Thirdly, it seems to me that 80% of the buildings we rent, it seems to be very high. Normally it should be about 50-50 because it then gives you the opportunity for sale and leaseback and the like. And in developing parts of the world, where we have very substantial budgets, for instance, take the EDF in Eritrea for the next 5 years, likely to be about €240 million, there should be a responsibility on the government of that country and other governments to provide space to the external action teams that are there for the purposes of making more savings there. Fourthly, unless you set a target year by year in terms of cutting the cost of property, nothing happens. And it seems to me that that is the issue that has to be done here, but it can only be taken at a Commission level. It can't just be taken within the EAS. And finally, you need to make useful comparisons between similar sized organisations. I don't know, is 165 million the cost? Is that good value for money in terms of the size of the External Action Service vis-à-vis other similar sized organisations? And that's where useful comparisons need to be made. And my final remark, I very much agree with the rapporteur on this. There is a need to integrate what we do at a member state level, and particularly for smaller member states who may well like to go to the developing parts of the world and would use the existing delegation buildings that are there. There seems to be opportunities for sharing and integration, and that's where I think it's a very useful suggestion that we would take up this issue with members of the national parliaments when we get a chance to meet them later this year. Thank you, President.